Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another episode of Coffee Corner. As many of you may know that today's topic is about art, but not only about the art, it's about the importance of art, but not only about the importance of the art, it's about a question, why is art important for us? I'm asking this question not because I'm gonna give you a I'm gonna give you an answer, or I still don't have an answer, but I've looked at a lot of articles and videos and trying to figure out why, but still kind of a little bit unsure about the answers they gave there. I got inspired, but I'm not really sure. So let's have this little discussion with me, with everyone here. So definitely leave a comment down below and let me know what you think about the art. So, before we start this, I'm going to show you a little bit of my notes, and I may have some noises going on. Uh, Guys fixing roofs, public workers cleaning leaves, neighbors doing renovations. So, pardon me for that part. Here we go. So I did watch a lot of videos about why art is important or why art matters. There are 4 videos I really, really love. I think they're very inspirational and informative. So I'm definitely going to share the information of those videos and you can have a look. They're TED Talks. I'm sure you can find them anywhere. So don't worry about that part. There are 2 articles I use it to cite some of the words. I'm not sure if you have access to it, but I will make sure if you do. Those are the names those are the articles I found to inspire this topic. So I'm gonna start with my video with a quote from Oscar Wilde. He said in his very famous novel, "The Picture of Dorian Gray." I think that is a very famous novel, and I think there's a movie about that too. Anyway, so in his novel, he said art is useless, and there is a student from Oxford University asked the question, saying that where in his other work he may find developed that idea of the total uselessness of all art. So Wilde didn't really directly answer the question, but responded with art is useless because its aim is simply to create a mood. It is not meant to instruct or influence action in any way. It is superbly sterile, and the note of its pleasure is sterility. That brought me back to my childhood. I used to like drawing pictures. Of course, I'm not good at any artsy stuff, but I used to like drawing pictures. But somehow, I think as you grow older, you kind of gave up the part of your artsy self, right? So I remember my mom took me to a kind of like my grandpa's friend. He was the dean of the art school, and then he asked me if I wanted to come to his art school. I was very excited about it. I, of course, really wanted to do it. And then my mom said one thing, well, she's not going to make money on art, and I don't think why we need to study art. She didn't see the purpose of learning art or study art, which I understood by then. I felt like, of course, some of the things you do need a talent. If you don't have it, it is very hard to make a living on it. Then I was thinking, why do we need everything to be useful, to be with purpose? So, if that's true, then why do we need art? Because what purpose does art serve in our daily life or in our regular life? Let's say that. That brought me to those many videos I've watched, and I felt, of course, inspired and emotional as well. I feel like sometimes we need art because we need a different perspective of view. We see the whole world running with the purposes, right? So you do your job because you need to make money. You be a good daughter because you may still have to live with them because you don't have an apartment, right? And then you go study, let's say you go study engineer, you go to study English. Do you really like an engineer, or do you really like the language, or you appreciate the art of it and you want to study it, and so you're going to become someone? So that's some of the questions I was really asking about myself, and I realized that, wow, I think 80% of our life have to be purposeful, otherwise we'll get lost. But that's not what I was trying to say. Here, when I think about art, is so who define art? Who defined that this art is a masterpiece, the other art is just a trendy stuff on internet? Right? Especially nowadays, we have the social media developed so well that you don't need to learn something in a very academic way. You just need to maybe watch some tutorials and even do some simple drawing, and then people can say this is art. But who defines this is a good one and this is a bad one? Who defines that this is masterpiece and this is not? Let's use Monet as an example. When I see his painting, I do resonate. I feel something is calling myself, and I have that kind of deep down feeling that I know what he wanted to say. But some of the arts I just don't understand, but they're still good, right? There's still good art there, and people will say, wow, this is a masterpiece. But why and who defined that? If I didn't go to this exhibition, what would have happened to my life? Probably nothing. My life was still going on, right? And I would still walk my dog every day, go to work every day, and then do a lot of stuff. But with that little bit of art there, I all of a sudden feel like life is colorful. Life has a different expectations. So you want to entertain yourself, but in a different way because you appreciate the beauty of the art. So to me, at that moment, art brought me a lot of potentials that life is, well, as an active person, I would say life is kind of full of tragedies, full of problems and difficulties, right? So people are sometimes upset about it, and they think, well, why do I always have trouble, or why do I always have problems? And you can get exhausted about those kind of things. But here you go, you have no art. You go there, you kind of relax yourself, forget where you are, what you are working on, and then just be part of the art and then relax. It brings you the hope of life. I'm sure back to the war times, and people still did art because that gives them hope. That gives them a different perspective of the whole world. Uh, Places got destroyed, people got killed, and then somewhere else, children didn't have education, didn't have food. But still, when you see the colorful art, when you see something else, and you feel like they are calling your feelings, calling your names, you resonate with them. And that's why when we have art, we feel hopeful. When there's no art, and the whole world just becomes black and white. Right? So that's what I was trying to say is, for me, I'm not sure about you guys, but for me, I feel like when I need help, when I need a guide, and when I need light, I think art is something that reminded me of myself, not only as a human being, but also as a human being with a spirit. So maybe too exaggerating, but I think that's what art does to me. Another thing is, I was thinking, this notes I said people follow the trends are the people who didn't really get a chance to learn or get in touch with art. So, talking about art education, how many of you have had education in art when you were in, let's say, elementary school, middle school, high school, or even in the university or college? And for me, elementary school and middle school, we were still doing art, music, and drawing, and even calligraphy, all sorts of things. We still did it, but of course, they were not the key part of our learning journey. And when I went to high school, everything had become very competitive because you really had to work hard to get in a university. So they dropped music class, and then they dropped art class, and at least we had something called for girls, we had a PE, but in kind of like more like a ballet style. I really enjoyed that. I think that was the light at my whole high school because I definitely didn't have any good memory about my high school. It was pretty terrible. But that one subject and that one content made me get through my whole miserable high school. Then I went to university. Well, of course, everything is about yourself. When you are in university or you're still in university right now, you have to do a lot of self study on many things, right? That's when you need some goals or directions to guide yourself which way you want to go. So, of course, some people are taking other courses, and some people are only learning what their major offers them. But I was so into drawing because my parents didn't let me, right? And then that was a chance, that was the freedom. All I needed was a notebook and a pencil. So I did some of that. And every time when I did it, I felt like it was a meditation for me. By the way, if I've ever mentioned this before or you never heard of it, I got bullied in university. I got bullied in high school too. So how did I manage to run away from those bullies? I was just doing my own thing. So I did art. I was drawing pictures, any kind of pictures. I did sketches. I did watercolor and other things. Then I went to learn guitar. And I think back to high school, I was all about heavy metal music, and everything was about art. And those kind of things made me through my miserable life. And back to my first topic, right? That gave you hope of this tragic life, right? So, but again, people are trying to cut the art part because they're not important. But if it's not important, why do we still have it? Back to my question, why? And then, of course, you've seen people or parents make their kids to learn piano, other instruments, to make them learn other arts, drawing, design, things like that. But do they do that because they appreciate the art, or do they do that because that will become useful when they grow up? Uh, so that will be part of their like bonus in the future life. So is that a good thing or bad thing? If we add a purpose on art, would art be a pure art, or it's not art anymore? So that's my question here. And then I said something like, so now I said something like, I made a note here is, I think when I think about Picasso, when I think about Van Gogh, when I think about Monet, they are those people were pioneer in their areas, right? So, of course, and when Monet was still alive, nobody appreciated his art because they thought that was bullshit. Nobody did art in that way. But he said, if you all talked about being realistic, what about impression, right? So, what about I'm doing art just based on impression? And of course, not many people buy it. And but he was the pioneer in this area, and then somehow he changed the way people think about the art, and then he lead the way, and then he changed the whole art history, right? And now you have a branch of painting called impression, and that's such a big thing. Picasso, of course, nobody understood his art back then, but then he also changed the way people did the art, and that influence has lasted forever. And Van Gogh, he is very famous for his color using and those vivid colors, and how brave he was to use such bright colors to express such strong emotions. Those are the things people never did it before, and I think that's why those first time thing, those pioneering thing, make them the great artists. But here, if you think about our life nowadays, it's more about follow the trend. But who lead the trend? It's the people who have been in touch with the art all the time. It doesn't matter if you learn it uh, voluntarily or you learn it voluntarily, but those people are the people who have been in touch with the arts, who want to be part of the art. They lead the trend. And people who want to follow the trend is they don't want to use their brain, to exercise their brain, to think about what I can do to make my life more colorful or more artsy. They just think, oh, they did that, I should do that too. And for those people, what they're doing or what they're creating then is it still art, or is still considered art or not, right? So who are those people? I think for us, lifestyle could be an art, right? People do people do vlogs, and some of the people, their vlogs are beautiful. My favorite vlogger is Zishi Dangui. I like her style, and then she does a lot to decorate the house. And then when she cooks, there's certain angles and how she plays the food. Everything is about art. But some of people would think, why do you do that? It's useless. It's just food. You cook, you eat, and then that's it. Why do you have to put a lot of effort in? But for me, that kind of effort creates art, and that kind of art make everything more tasteful, and then that's the fun part of the life, right? So what else could you do to make your life even more fun than that? So that's a part of things. People read, people understand the history of art. They may not be able to create art, but they understand that, and I think that's also part of art too. And those people, they share their knowledge with the public, and they want people to know art is important. Isn't that also part of art? Art of delivering knowledge, right? So I think it is very inspiring, and I think for me, that part is also very important. Um, if you, so this is not on my note, but I just thought about that. I think the last 2 years, people were really into going to exhibitions or shows, and they take pictures, and then in pictures they have themselves there, uh, and they do that. But the funny thing is, when they do that, do they are they appreciating the art? Are they understanding the art at the moment, or they're doing that is it just because they want to show off, because they want to show their presence when is there? So when people talk about that, yeah, I went to the show. So that's part of thing got me thinking, mm, do people do that because we really need art, or or because the art really brings something to them? Now, of course, some clicks, likes, right? Uh, or something else. So think about that as well. I think another way people talk about art, or they think art is useless because art doesn't really change anything in a very, how do I say? So, art doesn't change the world in a macro way. So, uh, they change gradually, but very, very subtle, in a micro way that you can't even really see it. But by the years go by, and you will realize that, the trend in 90s is different in the trend in 80s, but it's still about art. They change, and people think about art in, let's say, 20th century. Is different than people think about art in 18th century. So they change the world in a very, very subtle way, and then they change how people think in a very, very subtle way. And the funny thing is, art, of course, you can't just talk about art separately, because everything is about art. Politics, lifestyle, the way people think, even philosophers, authors, and other things, how they see this world, how the world presents itself to us is also part of the art, right? And that's the way they change it. Uh, I think a while ago, a lot of years ago, people liked the style of Annie Baobei, right? They were all talking about, the long hair, the white cotton dress, or something like that. But then people changed. Now they like when girls are very strong, independent. They want them to be smart, and that's also part of art. So I think that's funny to think about, and also funny to talk about too. Um, Another thing I made a note on is about um, uh, art can make people more open minded. So when it comes to this part, I feel like so I spent that was when I first got my job in China. It wasn't a well paid job, first of all. Uh, I spent 480 RMB on a ticket to Yo-Yo Ma's concert. And I didn't get to see his face because 480 RMB was a lot, but not a lot enough to see his face. I was seeing the back of his head, but it didn't affect the whole experience, the whole performance. I still really enjoyed his performance. He was outstanding. Like when you got there, you know why he's famous, why he's really good. He brings you the emotions you didn't even realize to the front, and then you're gonna face your emotions right here saying, that's how I feel about this music. I can cry, I can laugh, I can do anything with my emotions. But the art opened your mind, open up your horizons. You think differently, you think other things don't even matter anymore, because appreciation is the important thing. You appreciate your life, you appreciate what you have, and you appreciate that you have access to the art. So that's when I think about when you know art, when you want to learn art, it really opens up your horizons at that time. However, the funny thing is, when you talk about art, they're expensive, right? When you really want to know the exhibitions, you have to pay to get to a gallery, and that costs money. You want to go to a concert, that costs money. And if you're a collector, you want to buy famous paintings, that costs a fortune, right? So, um, I saw this video. I watched this video. This is I really like him. I think he brought a good point about it. He's I think a gallery manager was talking about how art was separated from rich people and poor people, kind of in that way, and that's when poor people really want to go to see art or really want to learn about art. They don't have access because art costs money. You want to do paintings, those pens, papers, and other professional pens, right? So they cost a lot of money. Do you have that? And are you willing to sacrifice to get those resources to support your art? You want to learn music? Good. Do you have money to buy pianos, buy cellos, and violins, other kind of expensive instruments? And let alone you want to go appreciate masterpieces there, and you have to go somewhere, and you have to be at that level, and then you have to have money to go in a gallery to see it. And of course, now you see a beautiful art, beautiful picture, you want to own it, right? So the ironic thing is art does bring a lot of hope and light to people who are in a tragic life or who are in a tragic situation, but would that bring light to poor people as well? So how could poor people get through their life? Or for their offsprings, how can they get better? How can they get rid of what their parents have and then move up to another level? So that is a tough question to ask, right? Um, Here, I don't want to make it too long, but I do want to share some of the quotes I learned from the videos. But before that, I also want to say that I know I said art is expensive, but there is art. I think art is everywhere. It's not only about galleries, concerts, and it's not only about learning instruments, other things. It's about you, right? It's up to you how you see this world. Can you see the art of this world? You go outside, you have a walk, you see beautiful flowers. Could you picture something with it? Could you think or appreciate the beauty of the flowers, how nature works, how nature inspires our life? And that can be part of art too, right? That doesn't cost any money. So I think art is really beyond genders, race, sorry, bug, uh, nationality, race, and any other boundaries. I think art is very important. But here are some quotes I want to share. The first one, it says, in art, life can transcribe a passage from suffering to signifying the loss. Our diminishing attention span separates us from the art. Art is a language that is in danger of being subsumed by its entertainment value and asset value. A lot of art has been bought and sold without much interest, if any, in what the artists are saying. So that actually supports what I was saying, that when people do buy art, right? So they have money to buy the art. They want the art to decorate their house. But are they interested in the art, or do they even understand the meaning of the art? Who knows, right? But they have the money. And then that's when I feel like I wish I could have the money so I can buy some art, right? But you gotta do what you gotta do, and you gotta do what you gotta do with what you have. So I want to finish this video with a speech from John Kennedy. This is a speech from, I think it's October 26, 1963. This is a speech about remarks at Amherst College and talking about an artist. And here's a couple of sentences or a few sentences about artists or about the definition of the art and artist. I think it's worth talking about it. He brought an unsparing instinct for reality to bear on the platitudes and the pities of society. His sense of the human tragedy fortified him against the self-deception and easy consolation. The artist, however, faithful to his personal vision of reality, becomes the last champion of the individual mind and sensibility against an intrusive society and an officious state. The great artist is thus a solitary figure. In pursuing his perceptions of reality, he must often sail against the currents of his time. This is not a popular role. If art is to nourish the roots of our culture, society must set the artist free to follow his vision wherever it takes him. We must never forget that art is not a form of propaganda. It is a form of truth. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and so let me know what you think about art and what you think why art is important. So stay tuned. Take care. Bye.